morning, everybody. As you should know, we are in the middle of Career Week this week, and I first of all want to publicly thank our councillor, Doug McQueen, who's done an excellent job organising that, so a round of applause for Mr. McQueen. And secondly, I have the great honour of introducing our guest speaker this morning. The real theme behind Career Week these past 3 years or so has been a message of trying to find your passion. And it's my privilege this morning to introduce to you a man who I believe absolutely epitomises this theme. He's extremely passionate about his professional work. He is the Deputy Director General, Regional and Sustainable Development at the Asian Development Bank. And you're going to hear about some of his work and what he does today. However, being a graduate of ISM himself, he is also extremely passionate about his service opportunities, one of which has been to volunteer on the ISM Board of Trustees, where I have personally witnessed a real passion for making ISM a better place for all of you. I've also seen his dedication and passion for education come through. Through personal discussions with him, I can also attest to his passion for his family, and we're delighted that we have both Daniel and Sammy here in the high school with us, not for too much longer. And so it's my privilege to introduce to you Mr. Wu Chung Ang.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Bill, for such a wonderful introduction. But the only complaint I have is that I have to go after these wonderful speakers who talked about proms and bobs, and I'm not sure how much interest they will be paying in this one. It's a real privilege and nice to see everyone. It was January 1976 when I first set foot on the campus of IS Manila. I had just landed from Korea and about to enter 6th grade, second semester. I spoke zero English and I had just 2 friends in school. One was my brother and the other my sister. And neither spoke English. So obviously I was very nervous and anxious. And luckily on the first day, it went pretty smoothly. And I didn't know what was happening, so I just kind of went with the flow, and I'm pretty good at that. But the problem started on day 2. I walked into this one particular class, and they told me to go to this other class starting today. So I went, and I find out that I'm number 11 of the speakers that you're supposed to go up and make a speech. And I'm supposed to go up and pick a little piece of paper and look at the topic and make an impromptu speech. So I said, say what? So I literally held my breath for the next 15 minutes. And luckily, I was literally saved by the bell. And just before I was supposed to go up, the bell rang and I had to go to the next class. So what did I do? I ran to my dad. And I said, Dad, we have a problem at school, and I can't do this. So to cut the long story short, I got out of it, and they put me back into the other class, which was supposed to be the communication class, written, not verbal. Now, 28 years have passed, and it's January again, and I'm in front of the entire high school, and I must tell you, I'm as nervous as I was when I was in 6th grade. But this is truly overwhelming. I would like to thank the high school guidance counselor's office, especially Doug McQueen, for giving me this opportunity to redeem myself, although it's 28 years later. And I hope you enjoyed the talk. So today my discussion is divided into 4 parts. I will talk about what Asian Development Bank does, ADB, and what we do, and specifically what do I do there. And second part is about who I am. Third is about finding my passion, and lastly about interesting topic about falling down. And I'll try to do this without embarrassing my 2 kids here. So what does ADB do? Right, I got this. We were established in 1966, and we are about reducing poverty. I'm going backwards. So we have 67 member countries, and we have about 48 members in our region, and we are basically a group of countries that are put together to to develop Asian Pacific region. And two largest share members are Japan and US, and we have countries belonging from all over Western Europe, all over Asia and the Pacific region, North America, Canada, and the US. And we have about 1,100 professional staff working in our head office in Ortigas, as well as 23 other field offices all over the world. We also have about 3,000 local staff hired from the Philippines to help on the support function. And we have about 430 students from ADB who are actually working and studying in ISM. So one might wonder, what's ADB doing trying to reduce poverty while we're doing so well, prosperously? We are here because we still have over 800 million people who are living under $1.25 per day threshold for poverty. We are still here because we still have over 300 million people who don't have access to clean water, resulting in mostly women and girls spending all day fetching water for clean water. We still have over 2 billion people who have no access to fuel, so they have to rely on waste, human waste, animal waste, and agricultural waste as a fuel to cook and heat. And we still have over 700 million people who have no access to electricity. And the most daunting figure is we still have over 3 million children under the age of 5 who die before they reach their 5th birthday. That's why we are here. So what do we do? What do I do? I'm in charge of the department that sets the sector strategy for ADB as a whole. So for example, in the energy sector, we decided that we will be focusing on renewable energy and energy efficiency. In the transport sector, we are focusing on moving away from roads, not because it's not important, but because countries can build their own roads properly, but we need to help them in terms of building urban infrastructure, MRT, LRT, sometimes non-motorized transport. In this regard, sometimes ADB people are seen as having schizophrenia because 25 years ago, when we first entered into China to help them build infrastructure, we saw lots of people riding bicycle. We went in, we started to build roads, and we told them, get off your bike, get in your car. Now, we go back to the same country and say, get out of the car and get back on the bike, because that's healthier for you and that's better for the environment. So we have to do both. In the education sector, we were focusing quite a bit on the primary education because Asia was very poor in general. But recognizing the fact that Asia is getting more prosperous and more sophisticated, we are focusing more on the higher education as well. I also focus on looking at 3 to 10 years ahead of our time to initiate new programs, for example, climate change, and I'm sure all of you know. So this picture here is, that's me there, working in the jungle of Laos, building a hydropower dam. And this is a joint venture with ADB, World Bank, and several other development partners. I was a team leader, so I'm kind of pretending to be leading, and the technical people are working in the background. This is the power plant that was built. So the challenge that we have is that when we build this kind of infrastructure in the rural area, oftentimes we have to face pristine forests like this. So we have to build infrastructure without affecting adversely the environment or the people. Sometimes we have to worry about animals like elephants. Elephants are the most difficult to deal with because they don't like to move. And sometimes we have to move spirits, ghosts, because we have to worry about the cultural heritage of the indigenous people there. We have some very dedicated people in ADB. When we build infrastructure, we have to make sure that people are relocated properly. So this lady in the water is literally crossing the water and flood, and the people behind there, the World Bank colleagues. As a mission leader, my job is to take the picture. And when we build these kind of things, we have to do lots of consultation with local people so that we don't affect them adversely. So these are the field work we do. We also spend a lot of time in the airports. That's me on the right and my 2 bosses there. And I think we're just texting each other how we're doing. We also hang out with pretty famous people, and no, this is not my grandfather. Does anyone know who this is? This is Secretary General Ban Ki-moon from UN. more interestingly, Michelle Yeoh. She's, if you don't know, she's the actress from Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and the James Bond movie. She was here not because of that, but she was in ADB to help us because she's a global ambassador for road safety. This gentleman in the middle, not the guy on the left, but the guy, the tall one, he's Carl Lewis. I think our generation know who he is. He's an Olympian, 1984, 100 meters, and actually he won pretty much all the sprint competitions. And he's global ambassador for food security. So I do get to travel around the world. On the left upper corner is I'm giving a speech at the Singapore Clean Energy Summit. Upper right side, I was standing in the middle of a road, a borderline of Switzerland and France, and I was attending disaster risk reduction conference in Geneva. And when I landed, I realized there was a disaster because my travel agent here, who's never traveled to Europe, booked me in a hotel which was located in France. It's only about 45 minutes, but still I had to take a bus and bicycle that's behind me to get there. The bottom left is Poznan climate conference in 2008, and bottom right, you can't really see it very well. It's in Brussels when I was there for carbon financing. So, who am I? That's me, yes. I think I was about 3, and I was pretending to be my dad, and I'm holding that little piece of the cigarette. I don't think I was smoking. I'm the youngest of 5 kids, and I lived in Korea until when I was 11. Probably the most notable thing I did was I was a national ice speed skater. The guy, that little thing there, that was me. And eventually I caught up to this other guy and I won. And the second place person actually made into the Lake Placid Olympics team in 1980. And of course, my career in ice skating ended when I moved to the Philippines. There's no ice. At least back then there wasn't. So I went to ISM. This is a picture of me in the graduation middle school. I thought I was a reincarnation of Bruce Lee. And I actually co-opted some of my friends on the right or left side. I was a junior at the time, senior. They didn't know how to do Taekwondo, but I actually helped them train and got them up to blue belt. And then we borrowed several black belts and we entered. Unfortunately, we were all soccer players, so we knew how to kick. And that's all you needed to spar in this competition. So we got silver medal. This is the ISM soccer team. Varsity, I was the captain of the soccer team. And I know what you're thinking, nice shorts. So that's me in the middle. Actually, I still have those shorts. And I also ran track and field, 100 meters and hurdles. And is Joaquim Sampson and Bianca Jimenez here? Oh, that's me here, high school graduation. I think Joaquim might recognize this lady here. And Bianca might recognize that lady on the right side. I won't embarrass you more than that. So after that, I went to the United States, went to Boston College, majored in computer science. Actually, I entered computer field for the wrong reason. I wanted a green card, the permanent residency, work permit in the US. And I was a foreign student, so I wanted to work there for a while. And I thought in the early 80s, majoring in computer was the best bet in doing that. And the other pictures are other pictures of my high school friends continuing to stay as my best friends throughout my life. So in my 20s, after I graduated from college, I went and worked for Pitney Bowes, which is an office equipment company based in Connecticut. And then they sponsored me for a green card, and then they also actually sent me to graduate school, business MBA in finance in NYU. And then I went to a company called Pfizer. Probably don't recognize the name, but you know what Bengay is, right? You know, the athletes and Visine. And Bill might know another drug that they make. Inside joke between them. And then I joined ADB. I came to Manila for a holiday and I interviewed and I got a job at ADB. So, what do I do now? See, every morning I get up at 5. And when I get up, actually I don't drag myself out of bed. I actually jump out. And then I go for a jog. And then along the way, I live in Dasma, so along the way there's a church, so I stop for a few minutes to pray, make my prayer, and then come back, have breakfast, and do some push-ups and get ready to work. So when I do this as fast as I can because I can't wait to get to work. Isn't that weird? Does someone want to rush to get to work? It's actually not weird, it's essential. You have to understand, in order for you to be successful in what you do in life or professionally or personally, you have to have the sense of excitement. And you can't get excited about something unless you do something you like to do. And imagine getting up every morning, working in a place 8 to 6 for the rest of your life, doing something that you don't like to do. That will be a torture. So how do I find passion in my work? You have to find the right organization. For example, in ADB, our passions align because we are about eradicating poverty, helping people. We are about helping mitigate climate change. We are about working with diverse people or multicultural people. In fact, when I first walked into ADB, I felt like I walked into ISM, just older. And working with a group of very smart people from all over the world, from different professions. We have people who have economics, finance, engineering, anthropology, people who are experts in fish, and you name it, they're all here. And I realized at some point that I like solving problems. From the outset of my career, especially working in Pitney Bowes as a programmer, I liked solving problems. And this was quite useful because when we develop a system in computers, we work during the day and then in the evening when it's done, they run the programs. But sometimes programs crash. And in our case, we were working on a billing system which generated $50 million worth of invoice every year, every night. So when it crashes, the data center guy looks at the list of people to call, and then they call list, and they call. And when it's my turn, I don't mind because I log on. But back then, it wasn't as simple as logging onto your computer now. There's no Wi-Fi. So we get a call, we hang up, we turn on this big thing that looked like a bowling ball, and then you connect it to a modem. I think some of us know what that is, but it's the thing that connects your phone to the system. And then work on it, fix it, unlog, call the guy again, and then run it and do that repeat. So it's a bit of a tedious work, but it's actually very good training for solving problems. Now the problem, it happened when I get calls when it's not my turn. Just like here, or your colleagues, or your friends, there are slackers in ADB and in other places. So there's a list, and they don't answer the phone, so it sometimes comes to me, and then I have to respond. And then the thing is, it's like a vicious or virtual cycle where the data center people also want minimum time to resolve problems, so they call people who they think can solve problems quickly. So the more I solved the problems, the more calls I got, which was really, really irritating. But I didn't realize then, but I realize now that this was actually part of my training to become a leader at the end of the day, because being a good leader is about solving problems. And I came across this quote. I think you have seen it. Leadership is about solving problems. The day soldiers stop bringing you their problems is the day you have stopped leading them. They've either lost confidence that you can help or concluded that you do not care. Either case is a failure of leadership. Colin Powell, former Secretary of State in the US and former general. I didn't realize then, but all those nights of getting the wrong phone calls for me to do was the start of my long journey to become a good leader. And even today, in my office, in front of my office, we have a queue of people coming to see me for various problems, personal and professional. And I always think about this quote when I try to help them out. So when people come to you for problems, friends, colleagues, do try to help them. So finding passion. I'm sure that few of you would know exactly what you want in your life. And if you do, that's very good, and you should go do it and pursue that. But the vast majority of you, like myself, will not know, and you will change your mind at least 5 times in your career. This is perfectly okay. Don't worry about it. But there are a few things that you need to do to help make sure that you find your passion. First is you need to get a wide exposure. Second, you have to build a very strong foundation. And third, be adaptive. The first is not that hard. You can get exposure to many different things, especially getting education from ISM, you will get the opportunity. But building strong foundation will require some work. So before you enter your workforce, you have to work on your basic skills. Some of you might not be very happy to hear about this. It's English and math. You will be amazed how many times in ADB or any other organization we talk about people saying that, God, this guy cannot write, or this girl cannot write, despite they know so much. So unless you know how to communicate what you know to somebody in a succinct manner, it's meaningless. And that will be the one that will be driving your career. Math is also important. Of course, I don't remember what I learned in junior and senior year specifically, but it's the training that you're getting to be a better problem solver. It's like a professional athlete who are, let's say a tennis player. These people spend half of their training on running. That's like math. You have to build your stamina and lubricate your mind so that you can apply that. Building a strong foundation also requires you to go sufficiently deep in the area that you get into. So when I talk about getting exposure to try different things, I'm not saying just nibble at different things and go on. You have to put serious time and effort in each one so that you get pretty good at it. Usually 2 to 3 years. And unless you're pretty good at something, you don't know what that job or that profession is all about. And you would have learned something as well. And in my case, I spent and the average about 3 to 4 years, initially as an IT person and programmer, then network administrator, then project manager for different infrastructure projects, and now in climate change. And I've done quite well moving through the organization. And some of the factors that affect the success of what you do is, one, you have to anticipate. You have to always think what's going to be coming, especially what your boss is looking for and what they need to get. Second is work very, very hard on the present. You have to take everything you do, a big job, small job. I remember when I first got a job in ADB, and I was on the first business trip with a team of 10 people, and I was the most junior, youngest person. I thought I was the smartest, but they didn't think so. And they gave me a job to prepare the list of persons met. It's a simple thing. It's a menial thing. But I worked on that as if everybody in the whole mission depended on it. And looking back, it was really important because 3 years later, the project got into some problem. We had to know who actually went and who actually we met, which was a determinant of that particular issue. Now, while working on the present, you have to keep an eye on the future, see what kind of trends coming. For example, when I was coming out of school, environment field wasn't that big, but now if you have an environment background, that's a huge plus for your career. And finally, don't be afraid to work more than others without expecting anything in return immediately. This is, again, part of your training. Some of you might have read the book, The Outlier. You heard about the 10,000 hours. In order to be an expert in something, you have to practice 10,000 hours. And remember, when it seems unfair that you have to work on something where someone else is supposed to do, it could be part of your training. Through this process, you will learn to adapt to new situations, like new technology, new environment, new country, and a whole new profession. So in your life, opportunities will come before you, and you have to be ready and be adaptable to take on the opportunity. And this kind of trait has to be part of you in order to succeed. So another quote, and this is Chameleon. You heard about the survival of the fittest. It is not the strongest of the species that survives, nor the most intelligent that survives. It's the most adaptable to change that will survive. Charles Darwin. So my final point is about falling or failing. Don't be afraid of failure and never give up. I know that all of you are very driven, very smart, and getting top grades, or the grades you want. And you will do that now, and you will do that in college and in graduate school. This is possible because the measuring stakes are very defined, and everyone knows that, and you work towards that, and you get what you want. But when you enter the workforce, other factors start to creep in. In almost all cases, you will have to work in teams. And I know you love those group projects you do, right? And that's tremendously valuable because there are other factors that goes beyond your control. And sometimes things don't turn out the way it should. In one example I told you about my first job in Pitney Bowes, trying to get a job as a foreign student. I knew it was difficult, but I started my job search in September. After 40 interviews, I got one offer. It was an insurance company in Hartford, Connecticut. I was so excited, the pay was low, but I didn't care. But 2 days later, I got a call again from those guys and said, Mr. Ong, sorry, but we have to rescind the offer because you don't have a green card. So of course I was devastated. After 40 interviews, what do? I kept on going at it. I did another 4 interviews, and then finally landed a job with Pitney Bowes, which actually had a better pay and closer to New York City, which is more fun too. And also they were willing to sponsor me for a green card. So I can't stress enough to all of you guys that you should never give up when you're faced with a setback. Keep your eyes on the ball and keep trying. Always do your best, and you will be able to take advantage of the opportunities that will come before you. But you don't know what's going to come in front of you tomorrow. But you have to be ready for that and be successful. Now let me finish my talk by illustrating my point about never giving up by showing a video. Can you help in the back? The video quality is not that great, but I think you'll get the point. This is NCAA track meet.
And the Penn State runner is just running amazing today. She did
You get the point. It's been a great fun, and you guys have been great. And please go ahead, enjoy the rest of high school.